Thank you for calling Big Lot Stores Incorporated. If you know your party's customer care, press 9.
One moment, please.
Hello, and thank you for calling the Big Lots Customer Care Department located in Columbus, Ohio. For quality purposes, this call may be monitored or recorded.
Good morning, Big Lots Customer Care. This is Jan. How may I help you?
Yes, I'm calling in reference to your Wichita Falls, Texas store about an incident I observed yesterday just before closing. Your general manager at that location had directed one of your employees to use a pellet gun to shoot wild birds that were in the store. And
what?
Yeah, and I walked in, and one of the associates was standing in the main aisle with an air rifle in his hands. And as I approached him, and I asked if he planned on shooting something, and he said yes, a bird. And I'm a wildlife rehabilitator actually, and I was pretty flabbergasted. And I asked to speak to his manager. And she came forward and confirmed that, in fact, he was acting under her direction, and she seemed to indicate that she was acting with direction from her higher-up on how to deal with these birds. And from a couple of different standpoints. Number one, it was during store hours. The store was occupied with customers, so we're talking safety issue. You got an employee
Oh,
there
my goodness, yes.
with an air rifle, and he had apparently been shooting up towards the ceiling, and you can have stuff ricochet, and you've got customers in there. Not to mention the PR, that doesn't look good, that your people are shooting wild birds instead of calling a rescuer of some kind. And when I inquired with the general manager, or may have been an assistant manager, I'm not sure, this was right before closing, when I inquired with her whether she was aware that we do have a wild bird rescue in this town, she indicated affirmative, that yes, she did know that there was a wild bird rescue in town, but she had not called them, even though she said she had been dealing with the birds being trapped in the store all afternoon. But she didn't call a rescuer of any kind. She just had an employee out there with an air rifle. So, and like I further informed her that if these are migratory birds species we're talking about, I didn't get a real good look at them, but if these are migratory species, then it would be a federal offense to shoot that bird, because they would be protected by the Migratory Bird Act. So essentially, in the United States, any kind of songbird, it could be a cardinal, or any kind of small songbird or a larger bird. If it's migratory, if it crosses over state lines and everything, it's protected by a federal act, and that would mean your company would get in trouble with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for taking that kind of action. Not to mention that also there's a city ordinance inside this city that makes it illegal to shoot a wild bird.
I am beyond words, which is rare for me. I am aware of everything that you just stated to be factual and true as far as the regulations, not to mention the obvious horrible thing to be doing in the store, period, let alone during business hours, as you suggested. I need to report this. I need to report it immediately to the district manager. It's copied to the regional office and our legal and asset protection department. I would like them to be able to follow up with you, sir. You are clearly an expert on the issue. May I get your name and number so I can have someone do that?
Yes, I was met with a lot of speedy dismissal as far as attitude. It just kind of seemed like the manager wanted me to, she was trying to hurry me up and shut me up and kind of, get me out of the store or whatever. Just kind of not apologetic. I'll put it that way. She was kind of more so coming at me with the
Defending her position.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Her position and the employee. She was saying, well, he was doing what he was told, and I was saying, well, yeah, I'm sure he wasn't standing in the middle of the store with an air rifle on his own initiative. I know he was, and she had indicated that she had been on the phone with her asset protection earlier, so apparently she may have gotten this idea from somebody above her to deal with it
Okay.
that way. And when she was defending her actions to me, what she was saying was, and she said this, specifically, that she can only do so much and she has to do what she has to do to get the birds out of the store because she's been talking to her asset protection and she can't secure the store for the alarms and everything with the birds in there. And she was basically saying, we've been dealing with this all afternoon. So she was giving me more so just a bunch of excuses for why they were out there with a pellet gun during store hours, rather than accepting any, culpability for, and so, I informed her of everything, but she was very dismissive of what I was saying. So, that's kind of really, and as far as the employee, who just seemed to be just a regular associate, you know, I don't really, I know he was just acting on somebody else's, direction, but I would kind of expect, even an assistant store manager to have a little better sense than that.
Correct. And what time of the day was this?
This was in between 8 and 9 p.m. It was probably about half hour to 45 minutes before closing, but there were still customers in the store. I being one of them. I mean, I walked right in and made a left right in the first little front action alley, whatever you call it, and the guy was right there in front of the food coolers, with a air rifle, and I kind of stopped. I hesitated because, I mean, this day and age, you walk into a store and you see somebody standing there with a rifle in the aisle, So, but then
that would make me stop. Absolutely.
yeah, and so, well, I didn't panic or anything. I'm ex-military, so I quickly could see that it was an air rifle. But the majority of people walking into your stores that would see that are not going to be able to tell as quickly as I could that it was an air rifle, And
well, and there's been so many reports all over the country.
Especially up there in Ohio
police
too.
Officers,
yeah.
Right?
Guys
Officers
getting shot in
and
Walmart with a
making mistakes. Not being able to tell the difference between the two, and we should never make the assumption that people are as well informed as they should be. That is just, it's all types of wrong and bad. And I can't, as I said, I'm often not without words, and there are so many thoughts running through my head regarding this right now, I can't even sort them out. It just shouldn't be going on. And you have cited multiple reasons why, and I couldn't agree more. It just blows my mind, quite frankly, that anyone in an authoritative position would advise anyone to take that kind of action. It's just so inappropriate.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased that I'm getting this. It gives me some confidence then that this will be addressed in the proper manner, because I begin to wonder about at the corporate level what's the policy for dealing with wildlife in the store. If that's what happens to birds. So
no, absolutely not. And I was raised by a hunter and an outdoorsman, and I was raised to respect wildlife. I raised my own children the same way. When I taught my son to shoot a long gun, the one thing I said to him is, if you're not going to eat it, you don't shoot it. Essentially, and we don't stand in the backyard and shoot birds out of trees, and so please do understand that I am aware of many of these regulations. I am a advocate of hunting and gun safety, but there's no excuse for what you're describing to be taking place.
Yeah, and it's even more atrocious just from the standpoint of, I specifically asked her are you aware we have a wild bird rescue in town? And the fact that she responded in the affirmative, but didn't feel like that was a solution to call them, but felt like the air rifle was. And
yeah, I'm not understanding that.
And she even and I mean, she could have even called them, even if they couldn't have gotten somebody out, you know, right then, you know, because like I told her, if I had showed up there knowing at the time, you know, I was going out there to help capture some wild birds, I could have done that. I could have brought catch nets or whatever. You know, there are people that would be more than willing to, you know, attempt that if allowed, you know, to do so. That's what I do, is I go, you know, capture injured and orphaned wildlife and things like that. I'm specialized in capturing animals like that. But when I showed up there, I was just going in to buy some snacks. I wasn't expecting to run into
right,
that.
you didn't come to work, right?
Yeah, which I gladly would have, but and I asked her, well, when will someone be here in the morning? Well, will you be here for a little while after closing? No, that's, you know, because I was offering my help, and I was saying, well, you know, because I can help with this, I can get in touch with the bird rescue, we can try to do something. And even if there was nobody from the bird rescue at the time available, they could have given her some direction on what to do. I suggested to her a good way to deal with this would be if she said someone will be here at 9 in the morning. I said, there's no possible way anybody could come here earlier than 9 a.m. And she said, no, it's not going to happen. I said, well, if somebody possibly could show up earlier than that while it's still dark in the store and we're sunrise outside, you could open your front doors, and that's probably going to highly encourage the birds to fly out, you know, with the store nice and dark, and they see the sunlight coming up, you know, in the parking lot, you know, and you know, and she remarked to me, oh, that's actually a really good idea. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's a really good idea. Well, if you had consulted a wildlife expert, they would be able to tell you these things, you know. So yeah, it's very disturbing on a lot of levels, But what I would like, though, is if there are still birds trapped in the store, if somebody could maybe follow up with me and let me know what their, you know, your plan is to deal with that. You know, if you're gonna, if not me, call in some kind of removal specialist or something that could deal with that humanely.
Absolutely. And what I will do is, and I'm sure you've heard me typing, and I've taken some manual handwritten notes as well while we were talking, but I will be contacting, why can I not see this? There we go. I will be contacting the district manager, as I indicated before, the regional office, asset protection. There are quite a few people who will be notified.
Okay.
And I will absolutely, you know, provide them all of the information you have provided to me as, you know, alternative solutions and what you observed in the store. I would certainly expect Mr. Barber, the district manager, or his assistant to be in touch with you. It can take up to 48 hours for a district manager to respond. However, given the nature of the incident, I would expect that it will be addressed much more quickly. Yeah. The number you provided to me is one that they could reach you at today?
Yes. Most importantly, at this time, you know, I understand it may take some time for them to, you know, call me back, but most importantly at this time, I want to make sure that when the store opens, if there's still live birds in there, they remain live, you know, throughout the day.
I understand, and that is definitely something that I need to make them aware of right away, and I intend to make a phone call followed up by an email backing up all the information that you have provided me.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Could I get your name again one more time, please?
My name is Jan, Jan, operator ID number 3187. I am the only Jan in the customer care department.
Okay. Well, I very much appreciate your attention to this. I'm very satisfied with your response to this. And
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I take this very seriously, and I will certainly follow up immediately when I'm done speaking to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jan.
You're welcome. Have a good day, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.